So let me ask you a question. If the world is so overpopulated, why are companies struggling to find workers? Why are governments worried about birth rates? Why is artificial intelligence being rolled out at such record speed? And why is immigration suddenly the most explosive political issue on earth? But here's what most people don't realize yet. The world is not running out of resources. It's running out of people. Not tomorrow, not in 100 years, right now. And everything you're seeing, which is AI replacing jobs, countries fighting over immigrants, pensions are collapsing, and entire societies are aging out, is a reaction to that single reality. And today this video explains exactly why this is actually happening, why governments won't just say it directly, and what it means for your job, your income, and your future. And I'm doing this video also because a subscriber recommended in my last video that I posted, so I appreciate you leaving a recommendation. And again, if you guys want to see a new video idea, you can always leave it in the comments. Now, the first claim is global population decline is no longer a theory. For most of human history, population growth was the default. More people meant more workers meant more production meant more economic growth. And that model shaped capitalism, pensions, housing markets, and even governments, but that model is now breaking. Across most of the world, birth rates have fallen below replacement level, meaning societies are no longer producing enough children to replace themselves. And replacement level is about 2.1 children per female. And most developed countries are sitting well below that, such as the continent of Europe, Japan, South Korea, China, and even, as you may know, the United States. Even parts of Latin America and Southeast Asia are also experiencing this decline. That's not necessarily a cultural trend, it's more so of a structural trend. Now, how did this trend become about? People are having fewer children because housing is expensive, childcare is expensive, wages are stagnant, careers demand more time, and urban life discourages large families, of course. And once that fertility rate drops, it usually historically has never been able to rebound back to a healthy level. Governments can offer you tax credits. As you see in some countries, the government will give you incentives to have more babies, like in Russia. They can also give you cash bonuses and sometimes even free childcare. But again, historically, none of these policies have ever been able to reverse long-term fertility issues. So what's the result of this issue? Again, societies age fast, like Japan, like Russia, like Italy. Places like Italy have fewer young workers, more retirees, and more pressure on healthcare systems, pensions, and taxes. And this creates a problem no government likes to admit. And of course, this creates problems that governments don't like to admit, which is that modern economies require a constant population growth to remain healthy. Modern economies were not designed to shrink. They were built on the assumption that every generation would be larger than the last, there would always be more workers than retirees, and tax bases would continuously expand. But when that stops, everything breaks. Fewer workers means slower economic growth, labor shortages, higher costs for services, pension systems under stress, and governments borrowing more and more money, eventually leading into financial collapse. And this is exactly why countries are panicking about demographics, not because they only care about family values, but because their economic math no longer works. If you remove population growth, governments are now forced to make impossible choices, such as raising taxes, cutting benefits, importing workers from other countries. As you guys see, a lot of Americans and a lot of Europeans are upset about the Asian and the African migrants coming and taking all the jobs, and even the Latin American migrants from places like Venezuela. Or the worst case scenario that you guys are seeing is replacing humans entirely with AI. AI is something that I personally use, and I can tell you guys that AI is actually pretty scary with how intelligent it actually is. Like, this is actually, we're seeing the future rapidly unfold right in front of us. I recently upgraded my AI, my ChatGPT, to $200 a month. Most of you guys are using it free, $20 a month. If you're using it free, it's useless. I mean, it's not useless, but you're not getting a full benefit. I upgraded to $200 per month. And the agent mode feature that they have with the $200 per month, this thing wakes me up every morning with a to-do list based off of what it knows about me, what I need to do. And the stuff is very accurate. And it's basically replacing a full-time assistant. Yes, you still have to prompt it. Yes, you still have to engage with it directly somewhat. But the amount of work that is cut for me has been literally by about 50%. I can get so much done while I'm cooking, taking a shower, hanging out with friends. I can have it do a whole bunch of stuff. And that is replacing a lot of jobs alone. You no longer need a researcher. You just need another person to overview all this stuff if you're the CEO and make sure everything is intact and it's readable, because it's not an actual person. But yes, that is saying that AI makes work more efficient, but it's not necessarily only about efficiency. It's about the actual labor shortage that I spoke of before. Most people think that AI is just here to cut costs and save money, which is half the truth, yes. But again, companies are struggling to fill customer service roles. AI does that. Logistics, AI does that. Accounting, my QuickBooks has AI incorporated in it. AI does that. Data processing, ChatGPT does that. Healthcare administration, AI does that. Entry level and white collar jobs, AI is doing that for me as we speak. So at the same time, younger generations are getting smaller and smaller. These corporations are asking a simple question. If we can't hire people, why not just replace them? AI is now doing scheduling, data analysts, coding assistants, customer support, document review, and financial modeling. And again, you can have access to all that for just $200 a month with ChatGPT. Now, opposed to if you were hiring an American worker to do any of these jobs, you're looking to pay them around at least $2,000 per month. And then humans make mistakes. AI makes mistakes also, but very few, especially if you tell it the right thing to do. So you're literally able to cut your costs by 10, and you're able to fill in those gaps that the fertility rates are causing. And this is exactly why job displacement may feel just sudden to some of you guys. Not because technology appeared overnight, but because demographic pressure forced the rapid development of things like AI. And here's the key insight. AI is not replacing workers because humans are inefficient. The human touch is always more valuable than AI. You guys know, if you guys use ChatGPT, it has this habit of saying, this is real stuff, no fluff. And I'm always like, who the hell would actually say no fluff? Like, that's not something it's very obvious you're using ChatGPT. But again, AI is replacing workers because humans are disappearing. And that creates winners and losers, whether if you like it or not. Immigration is a demographic patch, not an absolute solution. And this is why we still see mass immigration. Governments will rarely admit this publicly, but immigration exists for three main reasons: to replace those missing workers, to stabilize tax bases, and to delay demographic collapse. And immigrants are typically younger, working age, willing to take jobs that locals avoid, and net contributors to labor supply. Look at the Somalis in Minnesota. Look at the Mexicans in Texas. They're doing construction work. They're doing meat packing in Minnesota. That's not something I want to do. I want to do something. I wanted to be a six-figure barber. I want to be a YouTube. So while we're busy worried about those things in the first world, these people are coming from places like Somalia, where $200 a month can pay for a rent for a house of 3 or 4 people. And so they're making more than that per week. So yes, they're going to take those cheap jobs that we don't want. And governments are going to do this because this is what it takes to keep the economy running. But immigration also creates friction, as we already know. Cultural clashes. Look at the Somalis coming in the United States, calling Black Americans daddyless, and we're lazy. And then, we have Somalis that don't even want to learn English. We have Mexicans that don't want to learn English. We have people from Latin America that have gang mentalities that are coming in and making it even worse than the ones we already have in the United States. Those are cultural clashes, wage competition, political backlash. Look at Donald Trump, social fragmentation. And here's another part that most people miss. Immigration doesn't fix population decline, it just delays it. Okay, that's why I called it a patch. Immigrants also age. Immigrants also adopt lower fertility patterns over time, especially once they become Americanized. So now governments are caught in a trap. They need these immigrants for the economy to survive, but they also cannot integrate them fast enough culturally or politically, which leads to polarization, nationalism, and instability. It sounds like I'm describing modern day Germany, modern day USA, modern day Italy, modern day Portugal, modern day Sweden, Norway, all of these so successful Western countries that decided to import a lot of immigrants, like Donald Trump says, from shithole countries. This is the result that you get. And now the working class is caught in the middle. Let's talk about you. Working class people are being squeezed from both sides with this immigrant situation and the AI. On one side, you have AI reducing their job security. AI is taking away a lot of jobs. Entry-level roles are now disappearing. Skill requirements rise. And on the other end, you also have immigrants increasing the labor supply at the bottom, and wages are pressured downward. Housing demand increases. Meanwhile, capital owners benefit. The big businesses are the ones benefiting from this. They own the AI. They own the platforms. They own the infrastructure. They own the data. Let's use Meta, for example, right? Meta has AI integrated in it. Okay. They have Kenyans working for $3, $4 a day doing their customer service, doing their moderation of content. Okay, and those are jobs that could be in the United States. And if they didn't have AI moderating a lot of stuff in the first place, we had more jobs anyway. But now they're taking them abroad, or they're importing people that will work very low minimum wages, like $7.25 per hour. So the real divide is not in between the left or the right, Republicans or Democrats. It's now labor versus capital in a shrinking world. And if nothing changes, inequality will accelerate. And that's because population decline is not bad, mismanagement is. And here's where I'm going to push back on the doom narrative. Population decline is not inherently bad. Infinite growth was never sustainable in the first place. Fewer people can mean higher quality of life, less environmental pressure, more automation support, shorter work weeks. The problem is how the transition is being handled in the first place. Instead of redesigning society, leaders are panicking, patching, and protecting their capital, which leads us to real solutions. What solutions are going to actually work? If societies want to survive this shift, 4 things are going to have to happen. First, they're going to have to redesign work itself. Shorter hours, higher productivity, humans doing what machines cannot. Second, they're going to have selective skill-based immigration, something that you see Donald Trump talk about a lot. Integration over volume and long-term planning instead of emergency inflows to fill those gaps. Third, they're going to have to make families economically viable again. Give them affordable housing, predictable work schedules, and real childcare support. Fourth, they're going to have to give workers ownership in AI productivity, profit sharing, equity participation, cooperative models. And if AI increases its output, humans must share the upside. And I've heard a lot of governments and people talk about this concept before. So in closing, the world is changing whether if we like it or not. Population decline is real. AI is accelerating. Immigration is a pressure valve. The question is not whether the system will change, it's who benefits when it does. And that's the conversation we're not having loudly enough. I'm Austin Holloman. I hope you enjoyed that video. Let me know what you guys thought. If you did enjoy it and you want to see something else on a topic that you want to know about that's similar to this, or it could be anything, leave it in the first pinned comment. Make sure you share this video with somebody that's interested. And if you guys want to learn something more about what AI cannot do and how immigration is not a problem with this, you can learn about how in West Africa, specific the country of Nigeria, the United States is all of a sudden worried about how there's a Christian genocide. And so now they've recently bombed Nigeria on Christmas Day 2025 to go secure the crude oil resources. Click right here to watch that video.